Hi, everybody. I'm Amy.
And I'm Audria.
This is the right crowd. So grab a cup of coffee
Or a cup of tea.
Maybe a little something on the rocks, and let's get started. Okay, so this week we will be discussing classes. So I'm really good at writing them down and not taking them. So I have very little to contribute to this video. So Audria is going to be our captain for this one, Captain O Captain. And I will interject when something happens that I can actually comment on. So take it away, Audria.
So this will be a very short video. So I am very good at writing down all the classes and hoarding all the classes, and but then realizing I have no time to take all the classes. Luckily, realizing that, so I don't waste my money. As I did when unfortunately, I learned the hard way that I don't have the time or the brain capacity to take all of the classes. So what I started to do is start to make a list of classes as I find them. And to keep myself from going overboard with FOMO, because, oh my goodness, the best author ever is teaching this class. I must be in it, and then I will become the best author ever. I write the class down and I walk away. Like, it's like doing impulse shopping. It's like, if you just walk away, because a lot of these classes some of these classes cost a goodly sum of money. And even if it's not a goodly sum of money, it costs time that either for me away from my job, if it's during the week, or away from friends and family on the weekend. So I have to balance that. So I make a list of classes and I go through my calendar to see what my availability is and what that class could impact. What are the blockers or other things, constraints that might be on my calendar that would prevent me from taking the class, or prevent me from finishing the class, or prevent me or hinder me from being able to complete assignments for the class if it's the kind of a class that has assignments. And prior to doing that little exercise, I would sign up for all the classes. I must take all the classes. And then I would feel horrible or I would work myself to death trying to complete exercises and not be able to finish them. And it would be a waste of money because I wasn't able to finish exercises. I wasn't even able to attend some of the sessions. This was before things were being recorded all the time. So it was basically money lost. So I don't do that anymore. And we recommend you don't do that.
Yes.
If you have money to spend it wisely. So what I do is I have a list of things. So what we suggest to you is if you don't already do this, and many of you probably already do, you check out the class to make sure it's from a reputable source. And when we say reputable source, it's either from an author that you know about, a legit author. It's you got the class from their site, or from you got the listing from the class from an organization, like an RWA, or Romance Writers of America, or Mystery Writers of America, or Sisters in Crime, another organization, or there are so many, and there are some regional ones that offer classes. So it's a class from or any of the universities. Lots of the universities offer continuing education classes. If you're not going and taking classes, which we assume you're not, since you're on YouTube and you click on this link, we're assuming you're not going for an MFA, because we're not talking about that. Although that's one of the things that I probably will do in the future, is go for an MFA, just because I want it, not because it's necessary. But what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, make sure it's from an accredited source. And also go through and do a skills inventory. That's another thing that I do before I sign up for a class. I don't need to take anymore the structure classes over and over and over again, although I may need to take a structure class refresher. not that I'm an expert at structure, but as I look through the things that where I have skills gaps or where things that I need to spend more time on, that is not one that's on my list of things that I want to work on this year. So that's what I mean, where I don't need to keep taking that class. I need to
find classes for character development and writing my scenes so that the descriptions capture my audience.
Yes, I need to take a description classes this year. I need to improve that since I let descriptions fall by the wayside. It's like, get that description out of the way. I need to work on structure.
I don't have time to write that right now. That'll come later.
That's fluff. And turns out fluff is kind of, if it's written well, it's not fluff. And also it's important. So this year I'll probably be working on description, and I'll be working on short stories. And I will be working on maybe towards the end of the year, some more, oh gosh, what do they call it? Some red herring and some mystery stuff. Some of those parts of crafts. So decide what the skills are you want to take, build on, and then look for classes that meet that need or fill that gap. The other thing is sometimes you're going to find classes that do multiple things. Like you might find a retreat where they're going to teach multiple classes. That's awesome. If you find some really good ones, share them here. No. Go out to our Facebook class or Facebook page and list them there, so that all the other 10 people that watch our videos benefit from the list, and we'll share ours out there as well. So that's one of the things that you'll want to evaluate classes on. Will the class meet your skills gap? Will the class meet your budget? That's always important. You don't need to limit the classes you're going to take based on budget either. If there are lots of great ones that are free. There are some at universities that are free. If you want to take a more academic oriented class to get some of the basics down, they offer, it's similar to auditing a class. When you go to college, you can take a class for credit, or you can audit it, where you sit in the back of class and you don't get any credit, and you don't get to have your classes. Sometimes you don't get to have your assignments graded. Sometimes you audit them. But some of the universities actually offer free, they have grants to offer classes to the masses, and they do that online. So I do have a list of some of those, and we'll link to those we'll list those on our Facebook page, and we'll put those in our show notes. So there are a bevy of those that are free. I also have a wish list of authors that I really like. So that's part of my criteria that I look for in classes. Are they credited? Do they meet my time windows that I have for taking classes? Do they fill my skills gaps? And then are they on my wish list for, like, if, for example, if one of my favorite authors, well, I just thought of.
You just thought of 5.
I just thought of 5. Well, one of these, like if Sherman Alexie were going to teach a National Book Award winner, if he were going to teach a class on short story, I would definitely try to get into that class. So there are a list of authors that I would love to take classes from because I love their writing, or they are super successful and I want to learn from the business side or the craft side, or the craft or the business side from them. So those are some other criteria that I look for. And for example, there is another author that there are a few authors that teach webinars for some of the writing organizations that I mentioned earlier. So you might find a webinar that's free or low cost, like a $20 webinar. For example, Jane Cleland, who writes Cozy Mysteries and has had a award-winning nonfiction book on how to write a mystery and how to plot a mystery. She teaches and offers webinars monthly, and she has a newsletter. If you get on her newsletter list, then you will find out where she's teaching or what she's offering that month. which is, I mean, it's just super awesome that she does that she offers that to anyone. And then if she's teaching
I've
something,
taken a couple of her classes.
yeah, she's good. Yeah. And if she's offering something at a regional play, like, the Florida Writers Association, she'll list that in there. And then you can go sign up for the Florida Writers Association thing and then get in her class if you wanted to. So those are some ways that I find classes. It's either through organizations or checking out authors' websites if they're favorite authors. I also troll, sounds terrible. I also troll Eventbrite. Eventbrite has some great writing classes out there by accredited authors. I mean, by good authors, because it's a great site for offering classes and seminars and so forth. So you can find good things that are sometimes free and sometimes at a low price. You do want to make sure if you're looking at authors' websites and you're looking at all of these universities and Eventbrite especially, I have gotten tripped up on Eventbrite a few times. You need to look at the time zone it's offered in. Because I have signed up for classes and been so excited and sat down when I thought the class was being offered, and it had happened like 9 hours ago because it happened over in like Great Britain or someplace like that. So do pay attention if you're doing something that's out of your time zone. You're signing up for something that might be out of your time zone or you don't know. Double check the time zones. So
the only thing I want to add to all of this so far is that the other thing that I look for is if I'm taking a class, does it expire? Like, are there links that I can watch for a week from now? Is it going to be live for a year? Or if I don't make that hour time slot, then a lot of those classes I won't sign up for, because who's to say that something isn't going to happen that's going to make it impossible for me to go in that little tiny slot. Now, if it's free, sure, I'll sign up for it. And if I can make it, great. And if I can't, whatever. But for anything I have to pay for, I'm making sure that I'm actually going to be able to see it after the fact before I pay for it.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is something that I started looking for. It used to be that very few things were recorded, or they would record them and you had to pay a whole bunch of extra money to have access to the recordings. But these days, luckily, that's not the case as much anymore. So, but that is one of the things I look for. Will I have access to the recordings after the class? And sometimes that's not always the case. For example, I took a class on writing a Hallmark Christmas movie or romance. And that was one of the best classes that I've ever taken. And it was 3 nights. I have to double check. It was about 6 hours spread over 3 nights. And it was a really good class, but we did not have access to the recordings, or it was not part of the package, but it was well worth the money spent. So we'll list that in the show notes as well.
There was a class that I took with the Florida Writers.
Oh, yeah.
That if you weren't a member of the Florida Writers, you didn't have access to it afterwards. But if you're a member of Florida Writers, you had access for a year. Well, it was so cheap to join Florida Writers.
Yep.
And it didn't matter that I lived in Florida. Like, anybody could have joined. It didn't matter. It was so cheap to join Florida Writers. I went ahead and just signed up for Florida Writers, got all the stuff and the recordings for a year. So
actually, I think I joined the Florida Writers for the exact same reason, because near me, there's nothing that's going on in my area. So I have joined writers associations just so I could attend the seminars or the annual writing retreats or whatever they are, just because I don't have those options where I live. And there are ones that are all over the country. Actually, there's one coming up in Texas that I'm thinking about attending. They are teaching writing memoir, a really good session that I'm thinking about joining this year. That's on my list. It's on my list for this year. And so, yeah, again, you don't have to, that's one of the things that you don't have to live in the place where some of these writing associations are. Check their bylaws or their rules for joining or membership. And you can partake of some really good classes by joining those at reduced rates and help out that organization by bolstering their numbers and contributing to their membership goals.
Right.
That's all about some of the criteria, like the recording. All of those things are things that I look at. I didn't even talk about a lot of the online ones. Like, you can learn so much from YouTube. There are lots of classes.
Brandon Sanderson
Exactly.
has a whole series on fantasy and sci-fi writing that's free. He teaches a class on it, and they recorded it, and it's free. I've taken 8 of, like, I think there's 12. It's been so long, I'm going to have to retake them, but they're so good. And they're free. And it's under something Panda. I forget what it's called. But like Colorado Writers also has free classes on YouTube.
And so does 20 books to 50K.
20 books. Yep.
They have their classes from their conferences on YouTube for free, which are great.
And they keep all of their classes on. It's not like they keep it on for a year and they take it off. Like, all of their classes from all of their conferences are on there. So even if it wasn't a class from this past year's conference, it's still going to be on there. So you can go back whenever, and it's free.
So if there is a writer that you're interested in, or a genre or type of writing, or particular writing aspect, like plotting or characterization or description or narrative, all of those things, just search those on YouTube, which is one of the biggest search engines in the world. And you can find some kind of class or snippet and learn on YouTube for free, basically, which is awesome. We live in an awesome time.
Yeah.
So that is one of the options as well. Then there's other things like Masterclass. I have a Masterclass membership, and you can find authors on there like Neil Gaiman and author producer people like Shonda Rhimes. And
I did take her class. It was really good.
It was really good.
I did take her class. I was thinking I'd only taken the voiceover class, but I did take her class.
It was really good. And Judy Bloom's class, it was really good. And Margaret Atwood is on there. Oh my gosh. For those of you,
I think James Patterson is too.
James Patterson is the one I started with. I started with his on thrillers. He's on there. There's another thriller author. There's a host of authors on Masterclass. For those of you who've been on the fence about, should I take pay for the membership of Masterclass or not? Is it worth it? It is actually, I think it is worth it. If you sit down.
If you take the classes.
If you sit down and take the classes. And I will usually, that's another thing, said at the beginning, will you make time to sit down and watch the class? Watching Neil Patterson, or not Neil Patterson, that's not his name, James Patterson. Neil Gaiman.
James Patterson.
If Neil Gaiman and James Patterson got together and wrote a thriller fantasy, it would be awesome. While I'm washing the dishes, and I don't get as much out of it. What I do is I make time for the masterclass. I put it on my schedule. I sit down and I watch a module or 6 because they're short. They're
right.
short. And then I take notes, and then I might actually then watch them again while I'm doing dishes. But that's the second time I'm watching them. So I try to get my money's worth out of my masterclass. And you can find sales on Masterclass where you can buy one, get one. But yeah. I think it's worth it. I think because when would I ever have the opportunity to have Margaret Atwood tell me how to plot a book, or James Patterson? Their stuff is not, for the most part, on YouTube. And
it's not just writing. So like everything under the sun is taught on Masterclass. And they're constantly adding new teachers. Like, learn how to play the guitar, how to paint, how to bake bread. Like, it's all on there. It's all on there.
Yeah. And that's why I like it, because of the variety. and because they're constantly adding to it, which is awesome. So you get one. I mean, I signed up for, I think it was Neil Patterson and
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. I signed up for James Patterson and I got Neil Gaiman, and then I got Judy Blume. So yeah, I think that's if that's the kind of, those authors interest you, or their writing interest you, and you, oh, one of my other favorite authors, I mean, I would have signed up I would have paid the membership just for his books. One author that I didn't even know was on Masterclass, well, he was added, I think, last year, was David Sedaris. And he is one of my absolute favorite authors. And he writes humor, and he writes kind of memoirish. But I would have paid the cost of Masterclass was which was it $200, $300?
I don't remember.
Might be.
It's on auto for me.
I think it's $179. It's about $180 or something like that.
I was thinking $180.
Yeah, $180. I would have paid $180 just for David Sedaris, for him to teach me how to write humor. So, and then on there, once you pay that, you get, looking at the list now, you get Issa Rae now is on there, N.K. Jemisin, Steve Martin is there, Judy Blume we mentioned, Joyce Carol Oates, David Mamet, the playwright, and who writes these brilliantly, just brilliant, brilliantly plotted things, which I just love a David Mamet movie or play. And then Walter Mosley and David Baldacci. So many good authors are on there. So you could just spend a whole year just watching Masterclass, really.
Yeah. So I know Nicole says that she'll start a Masterclass while she's cleaning the house or doing the dishes.
Oh yeah.
And she listens to it in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that too. And then I just have to go back and sit down to take the notes, because while I'm doing whatever, it's like, oh, I need to remember that. Oh, I need to, and then I have to go. So I have to watch.
The same thing I do when we get done with our videos. I'm like, oh, she said something really good. I need to go back and look that up.
So that's an option for you. So there are so many options out there, and those are we've taken both done Masterclass, and then other classes that I've taken. I've done Dean Wesley Smith's classes, and I think they are awesome. And he and his wife teach classes on the whole gamut of writing. They've had a writing career that spans, I think, 30 years, and super successful, made all the monies with the writing, and now they give it back by teaching classes. And you can sign up for they have classes that last 6 weeks. They have short classes that you can, and they're all online now. And on demand. However, there's a caveat. You can take the ones where you just sit through the on-demand classes, or it's kind of like almost a hybrid model that they do, where I signed up for the class and the recordings are not made available until the class period starts. And that one started in January, I believe. And that was because you watch the class, then there's an assignment after each one, and you send the assignment in. And then Dean Wesley Smith actually reads the assignments, which is awesome. And then he comes back and does a recording for the whole class on how the whole class is doing with the assignment. And
well, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's basically like being in a classroom with Dean Wesley Smith, and he's like saying, so you guys on the assignment from last week, this is how you did. I need less of this, I need more of this. And he does, on a reply, an email, give you some feedback on yours as well. Which
now, is he the one that did the Kickstarter class you took?
He did. He teaches, they teach the business of writing too. So they teach craft. The one class that I took from him so far is depth in writing, which is the one that was the one where I had to do the assignments, and send those in. And unfortunately, I did not time that one correctly because I had signed up for it and I had it planned correctly, except we had moved our family Disney World trip to that week. So I got in, I think all but I did all my assignments, but I didn't get all of them into him on time just because of traveling things.
Right.
So and them's the breaks, but it was a great class. I did get the feedback back, and I'm able to watch the recordings back. And oh my gosh, that class was so good. I wanted to watch the recordings back and try and learn more about depth in writing, because that's what I want. I want the depth. I want to be able to write the deep stuff. So people like my writing, they get into it, they want to go on to the next one, or they stay in the book. So in the Dean Wesley Smith, and again, we will link to all of these in the show notes, and we will start a little thing on our Facebook page so you can drop in some really good classes that you guys have taken that you want to share with the listeners and the viewers on YouTube. But they teach craft. Like, I also took a short story class, and that one I took, it was called a workshop. Is that right? It where there were no assignments. You just watch the recordings, just like any other on-demand class. There's no interaction. So I took that one. That one was with Kathleen Rausch, who's won awards writing short stories. So that was awesome to be able to hear her teach about short stories. And actually, I have one of her, I actually purchased through her Kickstarter a bunch of her books, a bunch of her Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, a bunch of her short stories. And I also bought some classes from them. You can find their classes sometimes on Kickstarter, but otherwise you can just go out to the deanwesleysmith.com, or we'll put the link in the show notes because I know I didn't do that right. And sign up for those, but they're excellent. Again, craft, like how to plot, and then characterization, and then short story, or writing mystery and thriller, romance, and all those things. And then the business of writing too, and they also teach a class that I plan to take on finance for authors and things like that. And then Kickstarter, I took the Kickstarter class. And speaking of, so Dean Wesley Smith, I took his class. One of the other authors that we have talked about on here is John Truby. I took John Truby's class on writing screenplay. Well, writing. Now I can't. All right, take this part out. Don't take this part out. The book that we did, that's up here on the shelf.
The Anatomy of Story.
Anatomy of Story. Thank you. Thank you. You can leave this in. We're normal humans, people. I took the Anatomy of Story, and that one was interactive. It was online, and it was through Zoom. And well, we could see him, but he couldn't see us, and we put in note or things. Well, I assume he couldn't see us. I don't remember.
He could probably see you, and you could see him. You couldn't see the other students.
I couldn't see the other students, and we could not talk. We were muted. So it was like being in a class with a professor, But anyway, that was awesome. That was an awesome class. And we did have assignments, and we were not able to move on to the next assignment until we had gotten that assignment graded. And he said, okay, Audria, you can move on to the next assignment. So you just had to keep reworking that blurb or whatever you were writing until it was right. And then you could move on. So that was, I highly recommend John Truby's classes. And you get lots of interaction, and he has an assistant that helps too, which is nice, that responds with questions and things like that. So those are some of the classes that I've taken, and some of the ones that I highly recommend. Any others from you, Amy?
Yes, and I'm going to add Skillshare. I don't remember if we said anything about them. I haven't taken any of the Skillshare classes, I just know that they have all kinds. It used to be where you could go on and there were free classes you could take and there was a trial and yada, yada, yada. I tried to do that again. And I think now it's all just paid, unless they wouldn't let me get on because I had already done the free trial. So I don't know if there's free anymore. It may all just be paid now, but Skillshare does have some good classes and some good options for all the things, kind of like Masterclass, but it's not necessarily names that are known. Or Masterclass is people like you buy it because you're going to hear from James Patterson. Yeah. The only other classes that I've taken that we haven't discussed, but we have discussed in other videos, is Sarah Cannon.
Oh, yeah.
She has her HB90 and her Publish and Thrive. Her HB90 is really about planning your writing and your time, and figuring out Kanban boards and quarterly writing, which kind of goes along with the videos we just finished on the 12-week year for writers. She really goes into detail in her HB90 class on how to set all of that up and plan your life so that you have time for all the things and you don't stress yourself out. And then Publish and Thrive, she is quite successful indie author who has done everything. When she first started, she was a Harlequin writer. And she decided she wanted to go out on her own and stop doing that and start doing her own thing. And she's been doing her own thing for quite some time now. She's been doing quite well at what she's doing. So her Publish and Thrive is, here's all the things you need to do in order to publish your own books. Here's the order that you should go in. Here's what I've done that worked. Here's what I've done that didn't work. It might work for you. She's not one of those teachers who's going to be like, this is the way to do it, and that's it. She tells you what works for her, and if you choose to do something else, that's fine. But she also tells you what didn't work, and then she's like, but it could work for you, so give it a shot if you want to. So I really enjoyed both of those classes. And when you sign up for one, you can actually get a discount on the second one if you sign up at the same time. Mm-hmm. Two great things about her classes are that they're go at your own pace. So you pay for the class, and even though every week a new video comes out, if you're not ready for it or whatever, life happens, you can pick up the video 3 weeks later. It doesn't matter. Because the other thing that's great about her classes is that you have lifetime access. It never expires. When she updates videos, you have access to those too. You don't have to pay again to get all the updates. If it's there, it's there. If you go to her YouTube channel, she has a ton of videos on different classes that she teaches on YouTube. And when you sign up for her newsletter, she sends you all the things in her Google Drive, where like she teaches a class on how to plot a novel on YouTube. While you sign up for her newsletter, she gives you the printout that she works off of in that class. And you're not paying for any of that stuff. That's just what she gives you. The only thing that I know of that she does that's pay are HB90 and Publish and Thrive. Everything else she does is free. So just check out her website and her YouTube channel and you'll find all the things. But those are the two things that we haven't already discussed that I also have taken part in.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Skillshare, I've taken some Udemy classes. That it's UDEMY.
What is that?
It's kind of like Skillshare, I think. It's like it's a clearinghouse of classes.
Oh, why haven't you told me about this before?
Because we weren't talking about classes. But I will sorry. I will say,
have some whiskey.
I wish there was whiskey in here. I will say that that's one of the ones where you have to be careful with the quality of the classes. It's just about anybody can sign up to teach a class on udemy.com. So you have to be careful. I have learned that you look at whoever is teaching the class and then go look them up on Google to see if they've actually written a book ever or done whatever it is they are saying. A lot of them have, and they're legit, and it's just a low price way to offer classes. Because you can get a class from anywhere from like $5 to $20 to $39. And it's all self-paced.
$3.99.
Teeny tiny modules, but you can learn some like how to plot a romance novel or things like that on there, which is cool. And you can take that and then build on it, which is some of the ways that I have learned these things. Is okay, that was not a full-on class. That was about what I could have learned on YouTube for free. Basically.
It was snack size.
But there are other places like teachable.com is a really nice platform that a lot of them offer classes on. And on my, that's one of the platforms that Dean Wesley Smith offers his classes on.
I totally forgot about Teachable.
Yeah. And Susan May Warren, I think that's who offers the planner class for the planner that we gave away last month. Hers are on there. So there are so many outlets out there for classes and
yeah, if you just take the time to look it up, or take the time to go in the show notes and click a link.
Yeah, that's right. Explore on your own and find what you like. And if you find something really good that we have not mentioned, come back and drop it into our Facebook group and share that with us as well. Anything else from you, Amy?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in as usual. And if we get some more cool things, we'll drop it in our Facebook. But do share or subscribe and like our videos. And tell everybody you like them. So tell everybody about them.
Like, subscribe, share, all those good things.
Do what she said. She's much better at this.
You've used all your words. I still have lots of words left.
Not used to talking that much. I usually just sit here and nod.
It was nice.
All righty then. Okay, so bye everybody.
Bye.